Manchester. You've heard the name, but its story? Well, it's a story that quite literally shaped the world we live in today. In this explainer, we're going to travel back almost 2,000 years to figure out how one city became so many different things to so many people.
I mean, think about it. It's a city of science. This is the place where the atom was first split, completely rewriting our understanding of the universe.
It's a city of football, right? Home to one of the most famous, most intense rivalries on the entire planet.
And, maybe most importantly, it's a city of revolution, the actual birthplace of the industrial age, and a place where political ideas were forged that would go on to sweep the globe.
So the big question is, how? How did one single city in the northwest of England become all of these things at once? To get to the bottom of that, we need to go way back.
Our story really kicks off nearly 2,000 years ago, on a simple sandstone bluff, with the arrival of the Roman army.
For the first 1,500 years or so, Manchester's story is, well, it's pretty quiet. It starts out as a remote Roman fort called Mamucium, way back in 79 AD. After the Romans packed up and left, the place was pretty much abandoned. So much so that 1,000 years later, it barely even gets a mention in the famous Doomsday Book. Things only started to pick up when it got a market charter in 1222. And for the next 400 years, it just kinda grows. By 1650, you've got about 5,000 people living there. A totally normal town. Nothing at all to suggest the explosion that was just around the corner. And then, everything changed. The arrival of one single commodity would transform not just this little town, but the entire planet: cotton.
Now we have to be completely clear about where this cotton came from. Manchester's boom was powered by the triangular trade. This was a brutal, horrific system. European goods were shipped to Africa and traded for enslaved people. Those people were then transported in unimaginable conditions to the Americas, where they were forced to farm raw materials like cotton, which was then shipped back to England. Manchester was right at the center of this global network of exploitation.
So you have this flood of raw material, and it's met by this incredible wave of innovation that changes everything. Inventions like the spinning jenny and the water frame just turbocharged production. But the real game changer? Harnessing steam power. All of a sudden, you didn't need to be near a river. You could build these massive multi-story mills right in the city, with hundreds of workers all under one roof. The modern factory was born. And Manchester? Manchester became its cathedral.
But for all this so-called progress, there was a dark side. The immense wealth of this new Cottonopolis was built on an absolutely staggering amount of human suffering.
Just look at this number. In the 1840s, this was the average life expectancy for a worker in Manchester: 25 years. No, that's not a typo. It's almost hard to comprehend, isn't it? This wasn't just a low number. It was a catastrophic human cost.
What you had was a city of extreme contrasts. On one side, the mill owners were building huge estates, getting richer and more powerful than they could have ever dreamed. And on the other, the workers who made that wealth possible were enduring 14-hour days, sending their kids into dangerous mills, and living in crowded slums without any sanitation. Diseases like cholera were just everywhere. It was literally a tale of two cities, existing side by side.
Sooner or later, this was going to boil over. And it did. On August 16, 1819, a huge crowd, up to 80,000 people, gathered peacefully to demand something simple: the right to vote. The authorities panicked. They sent an armed cavalry who charged into the crowd of unarmed men, women, and children. The attack was nicknamed Peterloo, and it became this bloody, pivotal moment in Britain's long, hard fight for democracy.
Decades later, these same workers found themselves facing an almost impossible moral choice. When the American Civil War kicked off, the Union blockaded southern ports. Suddenly, the supply of cotton to Manchester just stopped. The mills shut down, hundreds of thousands of people began to starve in what became known as the Cotton Famine.
So diplomats from the Confederacy showed up with a deal: support the South and its system of slavery, and we'll get the cotton flowing again. But the starving workers of Manchester, they got together, they debated, and they made a choice. They sent this letter to President Lincoln, throwing their support behind the Union and the end of slavery. They chose to continue suffering themselves rather than profit from the suffering of others. It was just an incredible, powerful act of solidarity.
After reaching its absolute peak in the early 20th century, the city that built the modern industrial world found itself in a tough spot. The world was starting to move on, and it was being left behind.
The 20th century was really a story of a slow, painful decline. It was a perfect storm. There was more competition from other countries, the Indian independence movement rightfully boycotted the trade,
And then the Manchester Blitz during World War II just gutted the city center. After the war, the textile industry, the thing that had defined the city for 150 years, it just collapsed.
But as the smoke cleared and the mills fell silent, something new started to happen. A powerful new cultural identity began to emerge, one that wasn't forged in factories, but in the stadiums of its legendary football clubs, and in the music of iconic bands, from the Smiths to Oasis, that would, once again, put Manchester on the world map.
And that brings us to the city you see today, a place that has managed to pull off one of the most remarkable transformations of any city in the world, completely reinventing itself from the ashes of its industrial past.
I mean, the change is just staggering. Those old dark cotton mills and warehouses, they're now filled with tech startups and creative agencies. The old derelict docklands, that's been reborn as Media City UK, a huge European media hub. The grimy factory town has become this vibrant, modern metropolis.
Through all of this change, one symbol has always endured, the worker bee. It was adopted back in the Industrial Revolution to represent the city's hives of activity, and it's come to represent the resilient, hard-working character of the people. It became an even more powerful symbol of unity and solidarity after the tragic arena attack in 2017, showing a city that always stands together.
So from a tiny Roman fort to the engine room of global industry to a modern cultural powerhouse, Manchester's story is one of constant radical reinvention. It's a city that changed the world once. The only question left is what's it going to do next?